In a world of processed food and SUVs, Mini has done something very different. In 2020, they released the Mini Cooper SE, which is a fully electric version of the regular Mini Cooper. It was around $30,000 when it was brand new, but today you can find used examples for under $20,000. And including the tax credit, which is going away very soon, you can find some examples for under $15,000. But before we start this review, I know exactly what you're asking. Andrew, isn't the Mini Cooper SE just for people who think they're quirky, but in reality, all they do is listen to Noah Khan on Sirius XM and argue with the Trader Joe's employees about the mango specials? Yes, but hear me out. This car behind me is a lot better than you think, and for the price, it's an unbeatable bargain. I'll tell you exactly why.
If you're new here, welcome to Ever. Whether you're looking at trading in your old EV or upgrading to a newer one, we have you covered. We have an inventory of over 200 used electric vehicles, and all of which are backed by a battery health score, a 150-point EV inspection, and a 90-day limited warranty. Ever is the best way to buy and sell electric vehicles.
To start off this review, why am I so excited about the Mini Cooper SE? Well, the thing is, I used to have a Mini Cooper SE. I had one back in 2022, and I sold it during the chip shortage when everything was crazy. It was a great time to sell cars then. But today, this is my first time getting in one in about 3 years, so I really miss the car, and I'm super excited to talk about it. First off, battery. The Mini Cooper SE does not have a massive range. That's because it has a 32.6 kilowatt hour battery pack, and of which 28.9 kilowatt hours are usable. That delivers a range of 114 miles. And I know what you're going to say. Yeah, my Roomba can go further. Okay, sure, but this car is made for the city, and my Mini Cooper SE, I never really had any range anxiety driving it, mainly because I just use it as a commuter vehicle. And considering the average commute for most Americans is around 40 miles round trip, why do you need something with 300-400 miles of range when this can do the job perfectly fine? And especially with sufficient level 2 charging, I don't see any massive issues with this car. Next thing is, the Mini Cooper SE has a 181 horsepower motor on the front axle. That doesn't sound like a lot of horsepower, but we have to keep in mind this car just weighs a shade above 3,000 pounds. And this car is quite fast. So when I had mine, I clocked around 6.2 seconds 0 to 60, which is not bad at all. And the other thing too is this car has a lot of BMW DNA in it. And that's because there were some parts shared with the BMW i3, which was discontinued in 2021, with this car. And the front motor is a perfect example. The front motor on this car is the exact same motor that was used on the rear axle of the BMW i3 Sport. That's really cool. When considering the Mini Cooper SE, there are 3 primary trims. You have first the Signature, which this model is. The Signature is the cheapest model to get. It was around $29,900 brand new, and this one comes with a decent array of features. You have LED headlights with the cornering ability, so when you're going through corners, the headlights will actually track and illuminate your path. It also comes with a heat pump, which is really cool. The same year, Mustang Mach-E doesn't even have a heat pump, so that's pretty awesome. What you also get is keyless entry, a decent sounding 6-speaker sound system, heated seats, and 16-inch wheels. And honestly, these look pretty decent. Next up is the Signature Plus. On that model, you get a opening sunroof, which is really nice, and a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. You also get a few different interior options, which include leather seats, but the base model has pretty nice leatherette seats as standard. Then moving up, you have the iconic trim, which is the most expensive version. You have the nicest leather seats in that one, and you have optional black headliner for free, which gives the car a nice sportier look inside, and you get adaptive cruise control included. Now, it's important to note that during the chip shortage, not all the models have all the features. So for instance, Harman Kardon sound system was removed on some of the higher trim levels for a brief period, along with the adaptive cruise control. So if you're looking at one used, just make sure that they have the features you're interested in. Nevertheless, those were the options Mini gave you. Now, hopping on the inside of the Mini Cooper SE, we will realize that the interior in here is very nice, especially for the base model. That's because Mini is more of a premium brand. It's nicer than, say, a Chevy or, I don't know, Volkswagen, but maybe it's not quite BMW level. And you see that on the inside. So, first off, when you open the door, you have frameless windows. You don't get that on many vehicles. Most cars you open have framed windows. The Mini Cooper SE has frameless windows, which just kind of elevate that feeling of sportiness and luxury. Then on the inside, there's a lot of nice material. So sure, there's some shiny black plastic that people don't like, but what you do have is soft touch dash, soft touch material here, and a lot of these interior bits just feel very well built. I mean, everything feels nice, feels sturdy, and you have very nice buttons down here. These are plastic buttons. They look like aluminum, but they still feel very good. And it's nicer than having to go through infotainment menu settings to like change your sport mode or disable traction control. So overall, this interior feels very nice. Things get even better when you go up front to the driver's seat. You hear a solid door thud. To start up the Mini Cooper SE, you put your foot on the brake and press up or down on the start stop toggle right here. The car makes an interesting noise and comes to life. First, you'll see our central driver display, and off to the left here, we see our power gauge. So this is actually a real needle. It's just illuminated. It looks really cool. And whenever you accelerate, you can see what percent of the powertrain you're utilizing. So if you floor it, you'll use 100%. That's really cool. And off to the right, we see our battery state of charge. And if we toggle between our drive modes, which are right over here, we can go up for sport mode and we get a red theme. And we can go back to normal mode, which is called mid. I don't really like that word because mid is usually with a negative connotation, but that's an aside. And it goes back to this aqua color. And then green mode just says green. And then green plus limits the air conditioning usage and gives you a speed warning whenever you go over 55 miles per hour. So we'll just keep it in mid mode for now. Whenever you shuffle between drive modes, the interior ambient lighting will change colors. It's more pronounced at night, but you have nice ambient lighting in the door, around the screen. This is also customizable too, so you can actually have this lighting correspond to your driving speed. So this can act like your speedometer, which is really awesome. And you have some more ambient lighting over there. Overall, there's a lot of personality with this ambient lighting and the changes in the colors based on your drive mode. Migrating over to the center of the vehicle, we have our central display that anyone can use. Now, this is an okay-ish system. It seems like it's based on iDrive 6, which is an outgoing version of BMW's infotainment software, so it's not quite as good as the newer vehicles. So first off, we have our media over here, which you press. You have access to pretty much everything. I usually like satellite radio, listening to Radio Monaco, which is a great radio station based in Monaco. It is in French, but most of the music is American. So, and then when you go back to the central infotainment display, we have our maps, which are usually here, and you can click on that, and you will be presented with the most mid, map ever made. So this isn't really a great system. I mean, you can zoom out and zoom in relatively easy enough. We actually have this little circle around us in green that shows you what our range would be in sport mode. Obviously, if we change that to something else, like say green, you give the car a second to reconfigure itself, or maybe I just press there. We can actually see a little bit bigger ring showing us how far we can go. That's pretty cool. But overall, the map system is okay, but it's not terrible either. So say we want to go to San Diego, which I click right there. We'll just skip that. Start guidance. Just recalculated. Okay, we see our route. Then the screen will pop up to tell us that our range is insufficient. Yes, because we're going 500 miles. So we do a charging station search. And then we can see some nearby charging stations. So let's just add on this one, 40 miles away. Apparently we can call them. That sounds amazing. So we'll just click there and then start guidance. And then we have access to more options when we go back to the home screen. It's also important to note that we have controls down here. So this little wheel right here can control the screen. And I actually really like this. This is nice to have both touchscreen and little controller functionality. That's pretty cool. Now, we have some other interesting apps here. If we go off to the side and down to apps, we have online search. So let's figure out what this does. So I can search a term up here. I typed in cat, and we can go to category. We'll just do all, and then search. This is around San Bruno, and we find the cat club. That sounds pretty cool. And the Cat's Inn. I think I'll go to the Cat's Inn. But alas, this infotainment gets even weirder. So if we go back to Mini, now we're in the options or settings. We can go to technology in action. First off, we have eDrive. So this is nice. This tells us what our range would be if we tick down our AC. We could save a mile range and our total range right there. But if we go to Minimalism Analyzer, interesting name, we click on that and we are presented with a fish and we will be given a score. So based on how well you drive, the fish will get progressively happier. This is the first time you will be judged by a fish driving your Mini Cooper. On my final note regarding the infotainment system, we have Apple CarPlay and it's wireless. That's really nice because you don't get wireless CarPlay in the Polestar 2 or Hyundai Ioniq 5 or Kia EV6. All those cars have wired CarPlay, and the Mini Cooper SE has wireless CarPlay. That's really nice. What's not nice is there is no Android Auto, so sorry, Android users. Looking down south, we have our climate control menus here, and this is nice because we have knobs with nice, crisp, clear graphics showing us, hey, we're at 62 degrees. Nothing through the screen, which I love. This is really nice. We have nice buttons, nice knobs. They're tactile. You can feel them, and they're easy to use. You have your heated seats down here, and you have recirculation and your defogger. That's cool. Down here, this button looks a little weird, but that actually changes our regen. So we can go from high regen to low regen. And the car defaults to high regen with one pedal driving. The only issue with this one pedal driving is the fact that the car does not have brake hold. So you will need to keep your foot on the brake on a hill. And then we have traction control down there. This is our drive selector right here. And you push this button on the left and pull it back for drive and push it forward for reverse. For park, you just press the park button up there. Pretty intuitive. And there's our backup camera. We have parking sensors as standard on the rear, nothing on the front. But honestly, this car is so small and the windows are so big that this is a very, very easy car to park. I have no issues with the maneuverability of this vehicle in parking lots. So, what software score do we give the Mini Cooper SE? Surprisingly, we're going to give this familiar and functional. And that's because the app is really, really good. It's the same app that BMW uses. So you have tons of functionality on the app. You can unlock the doors, honk the horn, turn on the AC. You can do a lot of things. So while the screen isn't like that impressive, it is responsive. You can do most basic functionality on that screen. And you have Apple CarPlay, which is wireless. Therefore, based on all those factors, we will give this familiar and functional. Around back, we have our trunk. It is not very big, as you would expect from a car that has a name that is a synonym to small. Nevertheless, there is a little underfloor storage area back here where you can keep the charging cable. That's nice. If you would like something with a little more space, I highly recommend the Cadillac Escalade IQ extended version. Since the Mini is 2 doors and has back seats, I will now get into them. So first, you walk around here, you pull up on this little lever on the passenger seat, and the seat gets pushed forwards a little bit. And it's relatively straightforward to get inside. And I'm sitting inside the back. And as I've told you all in the past, I am 6'12" and I fit back here perfectly fine. And now it's time to talk about my favorite segment, which is charging. So we open the charge port here, and we have our AC port up top and our DC port down bottom. The AC port can accept 7.6 kilowatts, which is not that remarkable, but we have to keep in mind the battery pack is really small on here, so we get a full charge time of around 4 hours on level 2, which is actually really good. Down below, we have our DC port, and the DC fast charging port, that can accept up to 50 kilowatts. That means the car can charge from 10 to 80% in around 30 minutes. Once again, this is not that revolutionary or crazy, but it's fine. If you're going to be driving this car in the city and you need to top up, you can bring it to a DC fast charger. But I think the big thing to point out here is you don't want to take this car on like a really long road trip just because it's made for the cities. And if you're going to be level 2 charging most of the time, I don't see any issues with charging the Mini Cooper SE.
All right, driving the Mini Cooper SE. When you're on the road, the Mini Cooper SE drives very well. It's a nice, composed vehicle to drive in. The other thing that's cool is, despite this being front-wheel drive, you really don't feel it, which is nice. Mini and BMW are really good at traction control, and this car just makes you not really feel that front-wheel drive powertrain. So even if I accelerate here, we're getting up to speed very quickly, but there's no wheel spin, and the power is handled so well. They did a really good job with it. The next thing is, the accelerator does feel a little mushy in green mode. So if you put in mid mode, it's a little more responsive. And if you put in sport mode, it's the most responsive. I really recommend driving in sport mode if you want it to feel like a true electric car. The other thing is, the one pedal driving in this car is tuned very well. The transition from acceleration to regen is very buttery smooth. You can tell that the engineers and designers on this car made a lot of effort to make this feel like a true EV. Now, the only issue is there is no hold mode. So the car will bring you to a complete stop in one pedal driving mode, but if you're on a hill, you will start to roll back. I don't really like that. What I do like, however, is the handling in this car. What really helps out with the handling is the fact that it weighs only 3,100 pounds. A lot of electric cars you'll drive weigh substantially more. Most on the market hover around 4,500 pounds and more, and the Mini Cooper is just a breath of fresh air. It's very darty, it's very maneuverable, it is a great driver's car, and there's just not many electric sports cars like this on the market. It's like, sure, you can get a Porsche Taycan, but it weighs 5,000 pounds. Sure, you can get a Dodge Daytona EV, but that weighs 6,000 pounds. This weighs half of what a Dodge Daytona EV is, and it just means it's a lot of fun to drive. As a final note, the performance in this car is very impressive. So I can easily get this car up to speed in a short amount of time, and it's important to note that both the passing times are very good. So this car is still very quick, from like 30 to 50 miles per hour and 50 to 70 miles per hour. Those are all very important times because those are the ranges you'll be accelerating in the most. You're not going to be doing 0 to 60 launches all day, but you will be merging into traffic, and this car has plenty of power to do so. And overall, I think the driving experience is what makes the Mini Cooper SE so much fun. Sure, you got a lot of nice features as standard, like the heated seats, the leatherette seats, heat pump, LED headlights, etc. But this car drives like no other EV on the market, and I really like it for that reason.
And as for ADAS features, well, there isn't really any. So the base model Mini Cooper SE has basically no standard safety features at all. All you get is like lane departure warning. So if you're driving out of your lane, the car's like, hey, you should probably get back in. There is adaptive cruise control. You can get it as an option on the Signature Plus, or if you get an Iconic, it just comes with it, but that's it. There's no hands-free driving, no lane centering, none of that. This car is meant to be driven, and honestly, I don't really have any issues with it. The Mini Cooper SE is so much fun to drive. I really just want to be locked in with the road. And in conclusion, should you buy the Mini Cooper SE? I honestly think it's an excellent car. It's a lot of fun. The price point, especially used, is incredible, and the fit and finish and build quality on these things are really impressive. And the driving experience is just so good. It has great handling, excellent traction control, and it's pretty quick. It's honestly one of the most fun EVs on the market, and I think if you're looking for a city car and you don't need to go super far, there's no better option than the Mini Cooper SE. Simply put, it's a lot of fun for not a lot of money.